Welcome back, everybody. This week is me, Lauren, and
Emily.
Carrie couldn't be with us today, so we're gonna kind of do a different type of episode where we're going to specifically talk about one of us. So today is going to be Emily's turn.
Ooh, let's do this.
So, question number one, what version of a potato would you be and why?
This is a hard one because I love potatoes.
Right now.
Probably a twice baked potato.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah,
And now why?
because it's extra and so am I.
Rice baked potato. I don't think, and I think it's unique because not that many people would say they probably like a french fry because I love them.
I know, I know. I was thinking fries, but like I'm kind of tired of them. Like that's like the
Yeah.
old version of Emily. Like the new version is a twice baked potato.
Yeah. I love that. And what is a pivotal moment that changed your life direction?
Definitely my eating disorder. It was like a blessing in disguise. I feel like that is what catapulted this whole spiritual journey. And it changed the way that I view everything. Because, like, as soon as I got out of, I did 4 weeks in a psych hospital for it. After I got out, it's like spirit was like, all right, my turn. Like, let's go.
Let's go,
And
bitch.
yeah, since the summer 2021, everything has changed.
Mhm.
Everything.
And I mean, I feel like those moments are huge and everybody has them in some sort of way. And it's if we're listening after it.
Yeah. Yeah,
It's
I mean, it's so crazy. It's like it sought me out. I didn't seek it. It sought me out because like before that, I was very much, not very much, but I was pretty Christian. I mean, not going to church, but I still believe in God, but it was more the Christian route than
right.
spiritual. But I don't know. It's like then I went down this rabbit hole and here I am, psychic medium.
Probably like a lot of guilt and like closed-minded things of like, well, that couldn't be possible because this is what I always believed type of
Yeah.
thing. Yeah.
Yup.
Yeah, it's really those moments when they lead to the opening of opinions that things that you didn't believe in could be totally possible and learning really. And I hope everybody gets when
I
that
know.
comes, they listen.
And I hope that like because it's normal to feel crazy. It really is.
Right.
I felt crazy. And I
Yeah.
felt so because it was like before I really it's like once I became spiritual, all of these spiritual beings like you and everyone we worked with at our corporate job pretty much like all the women
Mhm.
there are so spiritual and all the people that I've met in the spiritual community it's like as soon as my awakening happened I guess all of these like-minded people are just like flocking but like when I first started it did feel kind of lonely because it's like I don't want to talk about this with people because I don't want them to think I'm crazy but I'm really experiencing these things so it's kind of like a relief that a lot of like-minded individuals have found I've found them.
It really is a death of a version of ourselves. And we
Yeah,
just have to, you get scared of who's gonna leave. And that's another thing of, okay, well, if they leave, maybe they just weren't supposed to be here anymore. Like, I'm sure I
exactly.
love them. I had my lessons with them, but like, there's a time and a place for everyone and everything. And it's fine when they come to an end.
Absolutely.
So, what is one thing that you love about yourself?
Ooh,
I know.
a good one. So I like that I am able to, and sometimes it's a blessing and a curse, but I like that I'm able to see both sides of everything. Everything. I'm talking like even when because I like true crime. So even when I'm listening to like these heinous murders and stuff, the empath in me still feels a little bit of empathy and compassion towards the killer because typically like they've lived a life of trauma. I can kind of see how their path veered towards that. Not that I'm
Right.
condoning what you've done. So it makes my life a little easier
Hmm.
because I'm not quick to get angry as I have in the past. I've always been like an empath at my core, but as I get older and mature more, I'm able to see both sides of
Yeah.
everything. And
Which is
like
incredibly important.
and it can be a curse because it's like then if I have to make a decision about something, it's like fuck, like I don't know because I understand both sides and just like really it all goes into being an empath. Also, I'm able to really understand where people come from and how they feel in pretty much any situation. And it's so hard to like talk about what I'm good at because I hate sounding like conceited or arrogant. This
Right
is
now's the time to do it because it's the question. And you know what? We need to talk about it
yeah,
more. We
yeah,
need to be talking about the things we like about ourselves because our default is to complain about something we don't
right.
like about ourselves because because we don't want to sound conceited. We are told we should love ourselves, and especially to receive love or to move on from things or heal from things, you're supposed to love yourself. So we should be talking about it more.
I
So
know.
do it, girl. There's no conceited here.
I know. So yeah, I'd have to say that, like, just my level of understanding of other humans' experiences, it's almost like I'm going through it myself, or I don't know, I can just feel it so intensely. And it just helps me to relate to others and to really be the person that others need in whatever they're going through, whether it's
Right.
happy or
And then maybe then they can see the thing in themselves that they like the most.
right. Exactly.
And I think
Absolutely.
so many people see things as black and white, and like that's the end all be all with
Right.
things, and to really open your mind and be able to weigh things, especially when it comes to people and who they are and why they act and do things. You can think so much clearer, and you can have so much more empathy for people and
Yes.
understanding for people's actions, which then can help your reactions.
Yes, absolutely. And I've noticed that I'm nowhere near as hot-headed or angry or like just quick to jump down someone's throat.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of takes me back. It's like, all right, put the brakes on, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that
Now
is
then you're in control.
exactly.
What do you believe sets you apart from others? And this can
Oh,
be you personally, you in like the spiritual field, your line of work, all of it.
okay.
What sets you apart?
I'd have to say a lot of things that most people care about, I don't care about. Like, I don't
Mhm.
care about status. I don't care about how educated you are. I don't care about material things. Like, yes, I like to have my things, but do I need to be sporting around a Louis Vuitton? No. I'm just as happy with sporting a purse from Sheen or Timu. You know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
I don't
Mhm.
care. Like, none of that matters. Like, my car, I am driving the very first and only car I've ever had. I've had it since I've been 17. It is almost 16 years old. I'm going to drive that into the ground. It's a car that isn't even made anymore. It's a Chevy Cobalt, not even made anymore.
Had that car too, but she blew up.
Yeah, well, yeah, I'm going to drive it till it blows up. And, you know, a lot of people care about what they're driving. And as long as it's getting me from point A to point B, I could give a shit.
Especially when like you don't have to, when it's paid off and like you don't have to do the extra things, and it still runs.
Right?
Why would you?
Exactly.
Why would you?
Right.
I mean, I guess like people like those things. And if you like those things, by all means, you do what you like. And that's just when you don't put, that's not your main concern. Who
Right. Like,
cares? Put it elsewhere.
I had someone once tell me that a person that they dated, and I mean, they dated this person for a long time, was like, would give them shit all the time for driving a Nissan because all her friends' boyfriends drove Mercedes. And she said the Nissan embarrassed her. Now, let me just tell you that, like, this Nissan isn't even old. It has a backup camera. My car doesn't even have a backup camera. So, you know what I
Mhm.
mean? It's within the times.
My Cobalt still had wind down windows.
You're
Does
right.
yours?
Yeah. No,
Oh,
I
yours.
have electric windows, but it blew my mind. It's like I don't even think that way. Like I don't have people in my life that think that way. And it blew my mind. I'm just like, really? Oh my
Yeah.
God. And he's like, yeah, she would tell me all the time that she was embarrassed. I'm just like, well, now I know why you're not with her anymore. But
Yeah, and thank God, because I mean, we already always think these like negative things about ourselves. And then for people to like be that shallow about things that maybe that doesn't matter. What on earth does that car symbol really matter about you? Yeah, it doesn't matter. It means nothing.
also, I don't care how other people look.
Mm.
I don't see them as their physical form. Even someone that the rest of the world would think was quote unquote ugly. I don't see that.
Well, and that has to be a really beautiful part of what you do because you're reading energy. And a lot of times, especially when you're doing like your TikTok lives, you're not seeing people. You are
Right.
simply seeing their energy and their soul and the things they're providing to you,
Yeah.
not who like what they look like and how they talk or things like that. And it's really cool that you get to really use that in your practices.
And it's not just like we're not seeing who they are, but we're not even really dealing with the human part of them. We're in their soul. We're in the higher self of them, not really the human part of them. Yes, the human traits come in, but I'm seeing even deeper than that. I'm experiencing
Right.
even deeper than that. So like, and I can tell you, I have never read someone that had an ugly energy or an ugly soul. Even
Hmm.
if they're not the best human, I've never ever been in someone's energy where I'm like, oh my God, that's like evil or, whatever. Never. Because I
Yeah.
believe that at the core, everyone is love.
Kind of like what we talked about last week. It's kind of where we hide behind our ego and the human form that gets a little murky.
Yes.
What is a complex trend or topic in spirituality that you can simplify for others? Like maybe something that people will see all the time on TikTok and maybe not really have a good understanding of it because it's so trendy that it's kind of surface level.
I don't know if this really answers the question, but at least for me, and I know for the girls in my mentorship class, and even really most of the psychic mediums I know, a lot of people think that like when you're a medium, you actually are like having a conversation like this and you're seeing someone just like I'm seeing you talking to you. And I'm sure that it's like that for some people, but for most of us, and especially for myself, it's not like that at all. It's more of a knowing, a feeling. You're seeing in your mind's eye what they look like or a vision that they might, a memory that they might have. And you're hearing in your mind's ear, eye, whatever things. It's not like, I'd say very rarely is the clairaudience external. It's typically internal. But I'll admit, I thought that I was going to be seeing dead people everywhere and just carrying on conversations. You know what I mean? Like to be like,
Right, right,
Lauren,
right.
grandmother right behind you, and she looks like, no,
Yeah.
that's not how it is at all. It's a lot more complicated. And the
Hmm.
way that they speak and the way that they try to communicate with you is almost like decoding another language.
Hmm.
So yeah, I'd say that's a huge misconception because I have people all the time say to me, "Oh, so like you see and just talk to people," and it's like, nah, it's not like that.
Nope. Yeah. And I think from a lot of the things that we have seen on like TV or have heard other places, and we kind of confuse when someone's like, oh, this person's with you. We don't mean like literally here on the couch back there. It's in spirit.
Yes,
And the
yes.
concept of spirit can be incredibly difficult to understand, especially if you haven't really experienced loss in a super personal way.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Absolutely. And also, one of my friends, I love her to death. She asked me, because I'm also doing past lives, learning how to do past life readings. And she's like, oh, so do you make friends with all of your past life people? And it's like, no, it's not like that. It's not like I'm having a direct conversation with it. It's not like I'm showing
Yeah.
up and, oh, hey, Emily. It's nothing like that.
I cannot wait for that conversation because Carrie and I have had that session for our past lives. You guys are learning about past
Yeah.
lives. I cannot wait to share like all of our experiences with it because that was crazy and it's exactly like what it's kind of like being your host of Christmas past.
Yes.
Like
It is.
you're just observing this.
Yes, that is exactly what it's like. That
Yeah.
is so perfect. It's like the ghost of Christmas past. Absolutely. And
Yeah.
mediumship, how can I boil that down? That is like, I don't even know. Sometimes it comes in as thoughts, but they're not your thoughts. And
Yeah.
you got to differentiate. It takes a lot of development. It does. It takes practice and development. It's hard to really explain what it's like, but it's definitely not seeing a concrete being.
I had a conversation with a guy here. So, anybody listening, I'm currently in Mexico, and I was talking to a guy who works at the hotel. And I was talking to him about like I'm learning Spanish, and he said, one of the concepts that people kind of misunderstand is when you are learning another language, you are now two people. Your brain is separated by these languages, and it's very hard when they kind of try and talk to each other. That's where things get a little ground up and things don't work right. But when you kind of just are in your English speaking body and it flows better. And if you step out of that into your other language, which mediumship is another language, that is when it's clear and it flows because you have to step back and forth between them, but not be in like one leg in each one. Because then I'm sure that's when you start kind of meshing those thoughts with your own thought. And then
Right.
you're probably like, well, was that my thought? How much am I putting into it? Like
Right.
it gets confusing. And same thing with other languages because so many other languages aren't like our language. The word placement accent is so different. And so if I'm trying too hard to think about speaking in Spanish in the same lines of how we say English, it's not going to work. That's just not it. You have to go in and out completely. He said that, and then when you said that, I was like, oh my God, that's literally what he was
Yeah.
explaining.
Yes.
It's the complex of different languages.
Absolutely.
So, what advice do you have for others who are entering the spiritual field?
First and foremost, you're not crazy. And I feel like if you feel like you need to ask if you're crazy or if you're experiencing something, 99.9% of the time, you're not crazy and you are experiencing it. That is the biggest thing. Also, be kind to yourself, be patient with yourself, especially when you want to develop psychism, mediumship, whatever it may be. It's not a race. I've learned the hard way not to compare myself to others, that I am exactly where I need to be at this given time. And sometimes it does feel like that others are more advanced or they're learning quicker or they're excelling quicker, but there's a reason for that. Just like there's a reason that you may not be excelling at that pace, because you need to really hone in on, okay, what is it that spirit's trying to tell me that I need to heal or work on so that I can continue to move forward. And it's taken a lot to get to that realization that we are never going to stop learning and growing ever in anything that you do. It's a journey. It goes way past. It started way before this life, and it goes way past. It's eternal. And I think a lot of people, including myself, just get tripped up on wanting to be the best. And there's no such thing. There's literally no such thing. My strength is not psychism at all. I'm better at mediumship, and I'm really doing well with past lives. But someone else in my class will say that their strength is psychism and they don't feel as confident with past life. Whatever. It doesn't make us any less than each other. It's just you have a strength, and just like with anything, someone might be good at basketball, someone's good at football, someone's good at singing, dancing. It's we're all good at something, and not to beat yourself up when you're not. And also, I'm going to say this every time. We are all capable of being a psychic and a medium. Every single person on this planet is born with that ability. It's just been dulled down because of society and the programming, but everyone can be one with the right development. And if you believe in it and you believe in yourself. So no one's better than the other because they are a psychic and someone's not, because that could easily become one. So that's another thing and it goes with what we talked about last week, removing the ego.
Do you have any unpopular opinions about anything?
LOL.
I kind of love this one.
Where to begin? I don't know if this is an unpopular opinion, but it's something I have no tolerance for. And I was talking about this with a friend last night. Obviously, I'm a psych major. I majored in psych. I thought I wanted to be a therapist. I worked in mental health and addiction for 3 years. I was part of the opening of the first crisis center in Maryland for mental health and addiction. That being said, I completely understand mental health. I myself struggle with mental health. I get it to my core. However, I have no tolerance for people that use their mental health as an excuse for shitty behavior, to be a shitty person and treat people like shit. I understand that we're all humans and we have human moments and shit happens, but when you're consistently treating people like shit and you have piss poor behavior all the time and you blame it on your mental health disorders, absolutely not. Absolutely not. You're out. Another one. Again, I'm an empath to my core. All of us have had some type of trauma. However, living in your victimhood, using that as an excuse for all the shitty things in your life and why your life is shit, I don't really have tolerance for that either. And I know that sounds harsh, but at least try. At least try.
There's no healing in staying in that comfort, because that is part of it. They feel
Right.
a comfort in their victim situation or in blaming your mental health, because then you don't have to do the work.
Right.
And that's not
Right.
good. And
No.
at a time it becomes old.
It does. I mean, treating someone like shit and blaming it on your childhood trauma, that's not okay. And it started for me with, I hate to say this, but the whole thing with boomers, how I feel like a lot of boomers had traumatic childhoods, obviously. I mean, I have
sure.
boomer parents, traumatic childhoods, a lot of trauma. Their parents, it just, emotions and feelings and all that were nothing. It didn't exist. You were bad, you get beaten. That's it. That is awful to me. And I get it why the boomers are the way that they are. However, using that as an excuse to treat your children and other people people like shit, retail workers, I can't. And I know it's not all boomers. I know it's not. And they're not only the only people that do that. I'm just using that as an example. But
But they're a
saying, well,
majority.
right. But saying, I had a traumatic childhood. That's why I'm the way I am. No.
Especially when help is everywhere and there's a lot of help that or things you can do for yourself that don't cost money.
Yes.
Therapy is expensive. I will be the first person to admit that. It's
Yeah.
expensive and sometimes it's not tangible, but you can self-help books exist and there's so many different kinds of them and there's so many different tactics that you can use to understand how you've been hurt and to stop repeating that cycle because that's what it is.
Yeah.
It's a cycle when you don't break it and you don't heal yourself and you are now
That's
inflicting that pain in different ways on someone else because now you can't be attached because of your whatever. Like that person now has their own type of trauma and it's different and everybody's going to have trauma and we're most likely going to be a cause of someone's trauma, but you can't just get by life blaming things on your past.
right. And no. And I once saw this TikTok of this woman basically saying, like, why are we as a collective saying our parents did the best they could when all the work that we're doing on ourselves to heal is just as accessible to them as it is to us? By saying they did the best they can, you're in a way enabling and condoning their abuse. And it's not just parents, it's whoever. In a way, you're enabling and condoning their behaviors because why do we have to do all the work to heal?
I think when it comes to like our parents and grandparents and saying they did the best as they could and because we're doing all the work now is because they really didn't have access to the type of help that we have now and now that they do they now listen there's no excuse for them not to be doing the work now.
Well, that's what
And
I
I think
think.
that's yes we need and that's where there is a difference, but I do think to say that they could have been doing it all along is incorrect because they
No.
just didn't have it then. And we didn't even have it for a long while.
Right.
And I think there's just generations really like what you talked about earlier about kind of having to see past all sides of people. It's one of those things where we do have to understand that like as time goes on and things become more accessible, we then have to take control of our own work to undo the trauma that people may have caused on us because they didn't have it then or there were different stigmas or whatever. But
Right.
that also doesn't mean that they're scot-free.
Correct.
Like you can go get therapy at any time. You can forgive, you can apologize at any time. You can also move on without needing either of those things at
Right.
any time. And there are not enough of our parents' generation or beyond in therapy. There's just not. And I think they find comfort in what didn't exist. And I did my best and I'm still me and doing it and it's fine. And look how like you're going to therapy and you're getting help. Why do I need to? And it's like, that's
Right.
a horrible view.
Yeah.
It's a horrible way to think of things.
I
Thank you for
completely
working on things so you can forgive me for who I am. No.
right. But you continue to be that way.
Right. Like there's no shame in therapy at any point in time, at any age.
No. And
Even
I feel
if
like
like
every single person on this planet, really, if you're a human being, you need therapy.
you know how like insurance companies have like a 1 year checkup for free? We should
Yeah.
have like not just a physical checkup, but just like an hour a year, like minimum, cover that for free.
Completely
Just so
agree.
people can see how it feels and maybe if it's something they would like to pursue.
I also think that they should incorporate that in class. Like each child once a week meets with
Yes.
a therapist or a counselor in class just for like a half hour to an hour, just whatever you want to talk about, whatever you want to unload, just make that their normal, build that into the school schedule.
And the things that you can nip early, catch
Yep.
early of
Yep.
abuse at home and things like
Right.
that, just by talking it can be once a month in schools.
Absolutely.
Once a quarter, you name it, the littlest amount means something and could
Yes.
change everything, especially
Also,
for children.
you were talking about how mental health is expensive, and it is. And I remember back when I first graduated from college and I had jobs that didn't really offer any benefits. I know in the state of Maryland they have pro bono counseling where you kind of go through a questionnaire. Obviously it's on good faith, but they will find you someone that participates in this program that is near you, and they'll even say, do you have transportation, do you not? They make it very accessible. So there are resources out there, especially if you're in the state of Maryland. I don't know if it's like that in other states.
I think there's a countrywide program. I can't remember what it is. I will look it up. I will link it in our show notes because I
Yeah.
do think it's really important. And you can put in it is for if you make under a certain amount of money, they will find you therapists that only cost, I think it's like $65. And even like I know that is expensive for people, but like therapy in like brick and mortar type therapy is way more expensive than $65. $65 is tangible in some cases, but I think it just takes a little research to find something that is obtainable to you. But
Oh
they
yeah.
do exist out there in
Yep.
more places than just Maryland. I think that is something that thankfully everywhere is picking up that this is needed and it is becoming more obtainable.
Yes. So I just wanted to throw that out there. If you needed any information, reach out to me because
Yeah.
I've done it and it's
Mhm.
at no cost. And I've had the best therapists through that.
Yeah. And we have an email. What's our email? I think it's teamspiritpod@gmail.com.
Yeah.
I will look it up.
Yeah, we'll link that.
I will link it. And yeah, if at any point, if somebody needs something, I mean, the three of us are here. We've been through so many different situations. The three of us, we're all in different like places in our lives
Yeah.
that I think that's one of the things when we started this was so nice is we can really connect with so many different people because we all are so different and we're here. I will make sure I have the correct email in our note. What is your weirdest habit?
I don't know if it's weird.
I'm sure someone it is.
I feel like my guilty pleasure is reading comments on controversial posts. Like whether it's,
Hmm.
I follow a page called for all the football teams that are in my division, the AFC division, like, and it's mostly men like fighting about whose team is better, but because the Ravens are in it. So I will read all the comments and stuff. Or there's a mom's group for the area that I live in on Facebook, and I'll read all the comments for that. I get a guilty pleasure on doing that. Like some people like watching trash TV. I like reading comments
Your
in.
comments are for free. The comment section really is its own version of trash TV. I'm with you. I really, as soon as see some like super weird post or
Oh,
something, I cannot get to that comment section quick enough.
oh, I follow this page called Cupid's Trash Can where people post nightmare dating things, whether they've gotten nightmare messages on dating apps or horrible dates that they've gone through or like whatever. And obviously, it's a lot of women because,
Hmm.
that are showing this stuff. But it'll also post bizarre, outlandish things and ideas that women or men have of women. There was this one that said, if a woman's on birth control, you should consider that a diss because it's been proven in studies that women choose beta males when they're on birth control. Like shit like that. They'll
Oh
post that.
my God.
They go to the comment section and like everyone from the group will like troll the comment section of this original post and be like, what the
Oh.
fuck about? Like shit like that.
I just really love it's a window to people's true soul because they think that they can hide behind the internet and then you can really see who people are in
Right?
their comments and their posts and things. I like, yeah, my friend and I sometimes we really love to go see what people from like high school or things like that like talk about these days, like with I don't know those people. I probably really didn't like those people back then, but now to really see who they are in this world of oversharing, I'm like, yeesh.
Yep.
Thankfully, yeah. No, I knew it back then. I didn't like you.
Right.
If your life was a movie, what would the title be and who would play you?
God, I feel like it would be a tragic romantic comedy or like a reality show. God, I don't know what it would be called, but who would I get to play me? It's funny. I was thinking this the other day of like different actresses that different people think that I look like or they remind
Huh.
me of. So, have you ever seen The Queen's Gambit?
Mm.
Netflix. Do you know what it is? Like where the girl plays chess?
I don't. I think I have heard of the show. I have seen the commercial, so I might know who you're talking about, but I have not actually watched it.
Well, it's so funny because my friend texted me the other day. She's like, I just binge watched The Queen's Gambit and I couldn't help but think you look like the main character, like spitting image. But I don't think I do, but she
Who
does.
is it? Do you remember her name?
Hold on, I will figure that out. And then, like, my aunt, especially when I had blonde hair, because I've had every color under the sun, she thought that I resembled Katherine Heigl.
I could see that with blonde hair. I could absolutely see that.
When I was in high school, everyone thought that I looked like Lindsay Lohan.
I could also see that. And you know what? I love Lindsay's comeback. I was rooting for her so hard.
The actress in The Queen's Gambit is Anya Taylor hyphen Joy.
Anya Taylor Joy. Oh Oh my God, Emily.
Do you think so?
She was in The Witch, and I love that movie. I think you have very similar features, but I definitely could see her with black hair being cast as you. And I'm thinking of her in her role of the witch. I could totally see it.
Really?
I think she is phenomenal actress.
Mhm.
I don't watch horror movies and I don't think it is necessarily a horror movie, but it is in fact scary as hell. And I liked it so much. And
I
a
need to
lot of
watch.
it was because of her character.
I need to watch it.
Yes, I could totally see that.
And also another one, my sister, this girl is in, her name's Elizabeth Gillies. She's in Dynasty. And when my sister was binging that, she's like, holy shit, you look exactly like Elizabeth Gillies,
Yeah, I could see that too.
especially when she has black hair.
Yeah, I could see that.
So I'd probably choose her to play me.
Her over the others.
Well, her or Anya. I don't think I look like Lindsay Lohan anymore, but I remember one time my friend was working at Italian Sensations and I walked in and this table of people was like, is that Lindsay Lohan?
If you had red hair, I could totally see that.
Like the meat
Even or even like blonde, yes, yeah, or even like blonde when she had the blonder red hair, I could
well,
totally see. I
yeah,
would
because
probably double take.
I had like a goldeny, like
Uh-huh. Like
blondie.
amberishy kind of hair.
Yes,
Yeah, I
yes.
could totally see that. What impact do you hope to leave behind through your work?
I just want to raise people's vibrations. I want to help them. I want to help them through their ascension, through their awakening. I want to be the soft place to land. I want to hold space. My purpose since birth is to be needed by others. I want people to need me, to lean on me. While it's draining for others, that is my purpose. That's where I get
Mhm.
the fulfillment. And that's what I want to do. And again, going back to our conversation of the ego, there are some times when I give a reading or I give advice to someone and I feel like it's generic or stupid or not fulfilling at all. And it might even be just one word I say or one line I say that that person takes from whatever it is that I'm doing. And they're like, holy shit, you really changed my whole perspective, or you really helped me. And it's like, who am I to say I didn't do it? You know, even if I
Right.
didn't think I performed well, or even if I think, oh, I didn't really say much, who am I to say that I didn't have a profound impact on that person? So that is what I want to do. Like I said, I'm a psych major. I wanted to be a therapist. It just wasn't deep enough for me. And all the, you know, because the government has their hands on it now. So there's a lot of rules and regulations and things you kind of can't say. And I need it to be more intimate and deep
Mhm.
in the thought of people. And oh, speaking of misconceptions, I would like to add this. I feel like a lot of people think that like a psychic medium is just like someone that like tells your future and sees dead people, but it goes a lot deeper than that. We're here to validate what you're going through, to validate your feelings, to bring evidence that there's life on the other side. I had somebody say I was in a live, like a live of, it might have been Mama Carrie's, my mentor, Carrie
Mhm.
Koss, love her, where the person said that psychic mediums are more of like a therapist than anything else.
When you were talking about what you like the space you want to hold for people, that's exactly what I was thinking. It's a total different type of therapy that people don't, it's unconventional, but it doesn't mean that people don't need that because sometimes we talked about this like one of our first episodes about the importance of silence space,
Yes.
where just because you're not, maybe you don't say anything at all, but you just simply lend an ear, that's involvement and that is helping.
Absolutely. And you know, it is fun to go to a psychic and you get your fortune, but that's not really what it's about. It's about just being there for people, validating them. You know, sometimes I'm like, am I really helping someone by telling them who they are? And it's like, yeah, because you're validating, you know, this person could have just been told they ain't shit. And then you're here to say, you have such a beautiful soul, you're an empath, you care more about others than yourself. That lifts that person up. You know what I mean?
And you're the unbiased opinion that we had
Yes.
talked about with therapists. We need that.
And
I
I'm not
completely
just
agree.
seeing you as the human. I'm digging down in your soul. So yeah, that's the impact that I want to make on people for sure.
What's a personal challenge or goal that you're working on?
It's what remember I said to give more zero fucks
Mhm,
and
mhm, mhm.
to let go of giving less fucks. It's
Yes.
what I'm trying to work on and let go of is caring about things that I don't have any control over.
Yeah.
And it's amazing how freeing that is when you don't have expectations on things you can't control. It's life changing and it's freeing.
Mhm.
I feel like I've taken shackles off and just, I don't know. It's crazy. And it's so simple, but hard to do.
It's so hard, especially when you're dealing with it with other people. When you're walking away from not being able to control other people's attitudes or opinions is incredibly difficult. To find peace in that you just can't control the universe and things that come our way and we interact with. Still very hard, but it is a little, it's easier to be like, I just can't. There's nothing I can do about that because it's universal. When it comes to people, especially if we're like a helper or a people pleaser, we hold that so hard. But if when we just come down to it, we're like, that's just who they are. And then you make the decision of, can I deal with that in my life? Is it fine to still interact, or do I have to walk away? That's when it's hard.
Right. And I'm really learning it a lot in my love life because I don't have the best track record of people that I've been with. And that's not just their fault. It was me too. It was a lot of immaturity and just undiagnosed mental health and stuff like that. But I can't control how someone feels about me, whether they talk to me or not, whether they want to see me or not. I can't control that. And in the past, I would do everything I could to try to make that fit, to make that work. And it's like, Emily, you can't. And the right person will do those things without you even having to lift a finger. So,
yep. And that's when you'll know. You will, that is exactly it. When you're just like, I didn't have to change anything, work on anything. We just are. Exactly. And just being is enough and is wonderful.
And from doing a lot of work with past lives, a tumultuous love life seems to kind of be the theme. And I believe in this life, I'm here to finally break that cycle. And it starts with letting go of things I can't control.
That gave me body chills.
Also,
that gave me chills. So the last question I have for you is, what part of today's conversation do you hope sticks with our listeners?
Probably the advice that I have for being on a spiritual journey, or being on this journey of giving yourself grace, holding space for yourself, not that we're not in a race. It's a journey, not to compare yourself with others. It's not a competition. There's no such thing as the best, whatever. It's not so black and white. I really, 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 really want people to understand that because it's freeing. It's really freeing when you realize, when you kind of stay in your own lane and you cheer others on, but you're not comparing yourself. You're not competing. Because I have almost all of my friends are psychic mediums and they are fucking incredible. And like you with your witchy stuff and all that stuff. And instead of like being like, I need to be exactly like that, I kind of look at it as an inspiration. Like I want to learn from this person. Yeah. I admire this about this person and I would like to do that. But it's not a competition. It's more like I'm letting this person teach me, lead the way, to show me. I'm not holding them on a pedestal. I'm not trying to be better. And I just think that a lot of people's lives would be easier if they took that approach. But at the same time, I understand how hard that is, because when you're programmed to be the best, especially when you're a perfectionist like me, and like most of us, especially in this field, it's very hard to get to grips with the fact that this isn't a competition and you don't have to be the best. Carrie says this all the time, and I love it when she says, Care Bear, when she says, I'm not always going to be the best mom, the best businesswoman, the best wife, the best whatever, but I can focus and be the best mom this day, the best businesswoman that day. I love that because that is how is. And instead of self-sabotaging yourself and having an all or nothing mindset, which is literally what I've had my whole life in everything that I do, it's okay to not always be your best.
Because we can't be. It's not realistic. That's just not.
As long as you show up for yourself and you honor yourself when you need rest and you need to sit back, that's fine. It's totally okay. I've read that it can take years to get out of burnout.
Yeah, I think that is completely true. Well, this was so much fun. And I'm really glad that we were able to work this out. And you can find us on Instagram and TikTok at Team Spirit Podcast. And you can find Emily on Instagram and TikTok at Enchanted Mystic by MK. And you can catch her lives to sign up for mediumship readings, soon to be past live readings, all the good stuff. She's amazing. And we will see you next time.